next set of questions asks us to basically simplify a limit that has some weird expressions in it and something like that. And all of them are some sort of polynomial expression. So one of the key points here is that x, we're going to find the limit as x approaches negative 6 of x squared minus 36 plus 6. Again, since these are polynomials, the first thing we want to do is try to just plug in the number. So if we just say negative 6 squared minus 36 over negative 6 plus 6, again, we've done this a few times before, we end up with 0 over 0. So just plugging it in doesn't work. So that's okay. That just means we need to be on alert. We need to try something else to do there. So we put in each part, we get 0. That doesn't really help us in the quotient rule. So one of the things we want to look for with polynomials is there a way we can factor it? So if I rewrite this, limit as x approaches negative 6, I can actually factor the top. It's the difference of two squares. It's x plus 6 times x minus 6. And so with doing that, I can actually cancel these two terms. So this is the same as the limit as x goes to negative 6 of x minus 6. And now I can just plug in and get negative 6 minus 6 equals negative 12. So the limit as x approaches 6, x squared minus 36 over x plus 6 equals negative 12. And what we would see in a situation like that is this is actually one of those situations where if we were to graph it, that's where a hole would happen at negative 6. Since when we can simplify the expression, we do have a limit there, but the denominator shows it to be a hole, or shows it to be a problem, that's where we get the thing of a hole rather than an asymptote. Part B, so another one, limit as x goes to 4 of x squared plus 2x minus 24 divided by x squared minus 16. And again, first thing we should try to do is just plug it in. If we try to plug it in, we have 4 squared plus 2 times 4 minus 24 over 4 squared minus 16. So on top we end up with 0, and on bottom we end up with 0. So again, 0 over 0, red flag. Again, most of the times you're not going to get the questions that just work out by plugging it in, because those aren't interesting limits. So we do the ones where something weird happens. So again, we can guess, since these are polynomials, we can probably factor them and simplify things a little bit that way. If I factor the top, have to multiply together to get negative 24, add together to get positive 2. So those factors would be x plus 6 and x minus 4. This is why going back to quadratics is very important in this case, being able to factor. It's useful to deal with things later on like this. Difference of squares here, so it's going to be x plus 4, x minus 4. Again, I can cancel those off, and so this is the same as the limit as x approaches 4 of x plus 6 over x plus 4. Now I can just plug in the numbers. 4 plus 6 over 4 plus 4, which is 10 over 8, which is equal to 5/4. So again, being able to factor works things easily. Part C is the limit as x approaches 7 of x squared minus 4x minus 21 over x minus 7. Again, you can guess, plugging it in is probably not going to work. 7 squared minus 4 times 7 minus 21 over 7 minus 7. We know the denominator is 0, which is already a red flag. If we work out the numerator, we also get a 0. Again, nothing surprising here. They're all the same type of problem. So again, we would try to factor. And so we need factors of 21, negative 21, that will add up to 4. So that's going to be x minus 7 and x plus 3 over x minus 7. Again, we can cancel a factor. And so we have the limit as x approaches 7 of x plus 3, which we can now plug in. 7 plus 3 equals 10. All right, one more. Part D is, so again, part D is the limit as x approaches negative 64 of the square root of x minus 8 over x minus 64. Again, we can try plugging it in. We get the square root of 64 minus 8 over 64 minus 64. So that's 8 minus 8 over 0, 0 over 0 again. Some sort of error. So we have to find a different way to work this. And so the trick here is thinking about factoring a slightly different way of thinking. And so some of you may have to think of this as substituting. Think of the square root of x as u. Well, then what I have, let's not talk about the limit right now. Then this is u minus 8 over u squared minus 64. Well, I think it's easy to think about that now, that's u minus 8 over u minus 8 times u plus 8. Well, I can do that same thing and just write it in terms of the radical. I can say this is the limit as x approaches 64 of the square root of x minus 8 over the square root of x minus 8 times the square root of x plus 8. And again, we have this in the denominator, cancels out that in the numerator. So we have the limit as x goes to 64 of 1 is what's left in the numerator. Remember, it's a factor, so we don't go to 0. They just cancel each other out and leave an implied 1. Square root of x plus 8. Now I can plug it in. And it's 1 over the square root of 64 plus 8. And so that is 1 over 16. And that's how we can use the law to our advantage to simplify things if we know how to use the expression.